tienes. Si tu voz se apaga la orilla. Pósate en mis flores como colibrí, dándome al oído con tus matices.
So we actually flipped the coin to decide who was going to start talking first. And I don't know if I can say that I lose or I won, but I'm going first. So here we go. I was born in Colombia, and I've been living in the US and outside Colombia for about 25 years now. Sorry, got the fire here. So my story, I would like to share with you a very intimate part of me, and trying to connect why I became to transform my life into a nature lover, and why nature has become an extremely important part of my life. So unfortunately, I had to endure about 10 years of sexual abuse by a family member. And that set and shaped, I would say, my personality in a way that perhaps if I didn't have that experience of being another person, but with that, what happened to me, and unfortunately it happens to many other women in the world. It's sad to see that. I think I lost a lot of my connection to who I really was, and it was hard through the years to know who my purpose was. And so I had a counseling, I have treatment, psychological, and all of that, trying to overcome my trauma. And it was just, I would say, for the last 15 years when I finally feel at peace in a position, in a place where I channel all my energy and working with nature. And was nature who opened with full arms and received me as I was, where I was in, and I started working in conservation, especially with birds. That was what it opened the doors for me. And that's the trauma that I haven't spoke openly about it, especially in this setting of working with women, working with conservation. But as a person, as an individual, that is where I come from. And I had decided to just do as much as I can to help nature, that when we see is facing also trauma, abuse, neglect, and the world is crying out for more help. And that was what I felt when I was going through abuse, neglect. And now I feel that I can do a lot. And Gerry helped me as my spiritual guide and mentor, and will be with me with my ups and my downs, helping me to come back to center.
It's been very special working with you and having you as a friend, as well as somebody that we talk with in that regard. Thank you. More? Do you want to say more here on this?
No, I think that's what I come. Yeah, okay. I wanted to share with them.
Right. Good.
Now I give it over to you.
Okay. This is an experiment, so we're seeing how this all goes. And it's very interesting that Sara has brought up trauma and the connection with nature. My own background, when I was a little child, I didn't have sexual abuse, but from the church, when I was 7 years old, we were being prepared for our first communion, and it was really, a big deal. And the town was very Catholic, and the school was Catholic, and all of this. And the kind of rules of the game, so to speak, that the nun would give to our little second graders was the fact that the worst sin in the world you could possibly do was called a sacrilege. And a sacrilege was when you ate or drank something after midnight before you went to communion. And if that happened, then you were in hell forever and there was no way out. So So, I can laugh some about that now, but I was a little, very, very, very open, very innocent little child. And so, of course, who in the middle of the night then woke up and had a glass of water or a drink of water or something. And it was very traumatic as well. And I didn't speak it to anybody for 2 years. Then I confessed it to a priest and this horrible sin. And he said, you need help, but he never gave me any help. He just, said that. So I did not speak this trauma for 42 years to anybody. And then I had, some of you know what Reiki is. I had become a Reiki practitioner over the years, and I had a major Kundalini experience. So suddenly I was, in many, many, many dimensions, and had to balance and retrain my brain to be able to interface with all of these different dimensions and to be functional. So there were a number of things that happened over the years related to that. But I had been a first degree Reiki person, which essentially means, Reiki means life force energy. So it's very connected to nature itself, which carries the life force, of course. And so I did first degree, then second degree a few years later. And I was wondering, gee, maybe I should become a Reiki master, which is somebody who passes on that energy or that light, if you will. And my spiritual guides, because I was very multidimensional at that time, said, no, it would kill you if you did that. And I didn't question how that might kill me. I just decided, I guess not. Then when I finally spoke this trauma to a perfect stranger, that was kind of a workshop that we did one weekend with some people. And then you speak it again, and you speak it again, you speak it again, and then that it becomes diffused somehow. So I was meditating a couple of weeks later, and my guys came in and said, now you can become a Reiki master. And I had no idea how I would do this. Because it was a lot of money, and it was a step. But then I suddenly found myself in New Zealand, the other side of the world, at the gift of a friend who had become a Reiki master. And the nature part of that is that I did nothing but look at the ocean for 3 weeks, and just unwound, so to speak, to what I would call now the pace of the earth. There's an actual term for that pace of the earth called the Schumann resonance. And after 3 weeks of sleeping 12 hours a day and just looking at nature and connecting with nature, then my friend said, now you're ready to become a Reiki master. So some of this you see in retrospect after all of this time. And so I became a Reiki master, sitting on a big rock with my feet in the ocean, and very much connected with nature. And after, back to the childhood experience, when I was 7, the trauma, a couple years after that, I was walking in the woods by myself. And suddenly what looked like the sun through the trees, it was the light, what I call the light from the sky. Is that the sun? But it had a personality to it. So some people would call that God. There are different terms for this. But it asked me what I wanted from this life as a child. And from my heart just came the word wisdom, which is not usually the kind of word that comes from a little kid. And so then that remained very, very deep in me throughout my life. So my life has been a balancing act. I've done things at the United Nations and in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But the spiritual part is the most important part for me. And however I can pass that on, whether it's considered energy, consciousness, light, et cetera, it's a great honor and a great pleasure when I can do that. So those are the kind of the high points, so to speak. Do you have any questions to ask me, or I would ask you some questions too,
Well,
Sarah?
before that, I just want to mention that going to a spiritual path for me has been very, very important in my own journey. When I had the opportunity to travel to the mountains of Colombia, and a special mountain in the north of Colombia, which is the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. This place is very important for about five indigenous group of the region. I spent a lot of hours, many visits to this spectacular and very, very special place. And during the time where I was facing my own challenges, I think the mountain, just being there, connecting with such an important biodiversity side with just nature, it helped us so much at many, many levels that is hard to explain to all of you, but it just centers you. And I think if we include nature at the core of our lives and what we do and how we're aware of the how our behavior can be positive or impact others. One of the things that also are very important to me and working with women, and some of the women from Colombia are actually here, our beloved Kelly and the group of women from the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. And it's just to see how the love of a mother and the care can pass on to the generations, to another generations. And this is what it was also planted in my heart by my mother, the love for other women and how we can help each other. But always thinking that we have to help ourselves first if we really want to have the energy and to be able to help others. So that's been in my personal journey, is how I can help myself first. And I get that help by going to nature, even if I'm not in the forest all the time, but my mental and spiritual awareness that I can be doing work, but always thinking and having in mind and having in the spirit, and that helped me so much. And just to see how I've grown. I can't believe where I'm here with you, with these amazing people, when I think where I come from and how hard life was. I was brought up in a town, very typical town, very rural. And just to be with more women in a fellowship, I spent with a group of the women in Santa Marta. We were celebrating International Women's Day. And it was incredible to see the women, the kids. It's just a celebration. And if we could celebrate every day something and celebrate that, if we give nature the space to recover, to breathe, nature just comes back to life. And if we give ourselves the space and the time to recover, is that also happen? So I'm very optimistic about it. Perhaps I shouldn't be too optimistic. And I know we're running out of time in the world with so much disasters and climate change and habitat loss. But also if we focus on just positive examples and women who are warriors and facing every single day, but at the same time planting the seeds in the hearts of their own children and in the seeds of the community, and what we can do to help.
There's a lot to be said for the power of women. And
Yes.
Sarah and I have talked about that for quite a while. Excuse me, we've co-sponsored some things over the years. And I think you mentioned that you're over half Indigenous now. Did you mention that earlier? Yeah.
I haven't mentioned it here, but yeah, I more than half.
Right. And so when you talk with any person who has an Indigenous background, even a little bit, they're going to call the earth mother. They're going to think of the earth as let's say the ideal mother who keeps giving and giving and giving, and it usually doesn't ask anything in return. And so if we can think of the earth as mother and experience her as mother, and we find too that working with women it's taking more and more precedence in what the kinds of things that we're doing, because women working together just can accomplish things that we just have no idea. There's a strength and a power in that. And Sarah's saying a little bit more of her background. I had no idea when I was young that I would ever have a PhD in eco-psychology and work represented at the United Nations and do things in Congress and so on and so forth. But one thing just kind of led to the other, and you always watch the things that you're asked to do rather than the things that you kind of think, I need to do this. It can come from left wing. So I first found out about the reconnecting with nature work that I used way back in the 90s. And I happened to be on the computer on something, and something just hit me about understanding a particular way to interact with nature that can help open your own nature. And it helps in working with trauma. It helps in working with bringing yourself forward more so than and expressing the love that you are. So I've worked with people both individually and in groups and in workshops and retreats, and it's a wonderful interactive way to ask questions of nature and then get answers from nature. And those answers can come in ways that are healing, as you've experienced with and it can help reduce trauma. We're all traumatized. Everybody here is traumatized to some extent. And if you think of nature as a loving mother and can kind of approach it that way, or approach her that way, can be extremely helpful. Back to you, Sarah. Anything? In fact, when Sarah was mentioning El Dorado, or did you give the name to it, or the mountain?
The mountain, yeah, most specifically the El Dorado Reserve.
Right. Yes. I first heard about this mountain way back in the 90s when I was at the United Nations for something related to climate change, Rio +5 it was called. And at that point, somebody brought it forth the understanding to me that BBC had done a documentary of these indigenous people named Pogies who were coming down from the top of the mountain where they had been in seclusion for a long time, saying their mountain is dying, therefore the earth is dying. And they were trying to talk to, quote, little brother, who's the rest of us. So that was, 30 years ago, I guess? Yeah, way before I ever met Sarah. And that background kind of sat there as important things do, with you. It sits there, and then years later, Sarah and I meet, and she turns out to be from that area, and we start collaborating on things, both her working with me in the spiritual way, and then us co-sponsoring some things as well. So it's been a great pleasure, and we're different generations. We come from different places, but it's a good match.
It's a fantastic
it's a good match, right?
We complement our work in an incredible way.
Yeah. They have the differences, and then to be able to work together, to create together. So anything more you want to say about background?
I'll say we decided to start a non-profit organization dedicated to work with women, called Women for Conservation, linking a lot of dots, connecting a lot of dots. And one of the things that we trying really hard is to give the opportunity to women to decide for themselves, to make choices is from different ranges. Could be access to education, over their own bodies, and especially to me, it speaks to my heart where I see a woman who is going through a very difficult time, and there is no one there to help or just give a word of encouragement. And that's the goal and the purpose that I found in my life after being able to move to a place now where I'm at peace with my past, at peace with the people who hurt me, and I'm in peace with nature and my own nature. I know now, and I welcome who I am. It is to give a hand to these women and the families and the young girls. And it's not only women, but men. And it's a beautiful process when transforming distraction, negativity into something that it can start to grow. And it takes time, and it takes generations after generations. But I'm so of all the work, the team, like Emily is here, and the team that is in the field. Proud of my daughter. I'm proud of also my mother, who is the inspiration behind all of the work that we did, and I dedicated because I know she had a lot of trauma too. She suffered tremendously. She endured and took that pain and did the best that she could, considering the circumstances. And she passed away and died of a brain tumor at a very young age. And but just to see all like my life and what I can transform into good and help others. It's just become.
That's really interesting, Sara, because when I hear Sara speak like that, to me, she's bringing forth the connection with Mother Earth and relating and identifying with Mother Earth, as well as your own mother and your own daughter, and bringing that forward. It's a very different use of power. It's not a dominating power. It's very effective, and it maybe might dominate in its own way because it's so effective, but that's not your goal. Your goal is to love and to share the beauty and the understanding as a good mother, the best mother would do. And it's interesting that you mentioned that. My own mother is a very strong influence in my own life too. And I can feel her around. It's not at all uncommon that I'll feel my mother kind of, right here. But my mother was orphaned when she was 4. Through natural causes. Her father died when she was 3. Her mother died when she was 4. And so she grew up in an orphanage. And that's where, when I was a little kid, that's where we would visit as home quite a bit. It was the home, so it was a step removed from what most people would experience. And I remember being hugged by the cooks who raised my mother, etc. And she never felt sorry for herself. Which is just amazing, because it's easy to do being raised like that. But she was an adventurer, and she was, always looking at what's new. And when she died, suddenly she was just like that. She came to me within 24 hours saying, "I want that one." She was pointing to the casket. So she just had that nature about it. And as Sara is saying, without necessarily using these words, it's very important to know your own nature. Astrology tries to get that at that, and a number of different places need to get that. But you can find a lot about your own nature, and to be that through interacting with nature herself. Because if you do anything else other than that, you're not being true to who yourself is. And there are different ways of saying that, right? And we're raised usually in a society that has us, you should be like this, you should be like that. And we grow up, whether it's religion, whether it's society, whether it's whatever, why aren't you like this? Why can't you be like that? And it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work either for you or for anybody else. So that's why I founded Communities of Peace, the nonprofit that I founded. And that's for men as well as women. But it is about people being truly who they are, their own nature, and then collaborate, because nobody has the whole story. You're you. And if I know who you are, and I know what, maybe, if you ask me a question, I might be able to say, hey, here. And then we can collaborate and co-collaborate and co-create together. Yeah. So, but being your own nature and then expressing that, very, very, very important. The light from the sky spoke to me one other time, and I'm 83, and it's only happened to me twice in my life. And it was about nature and how nature feeds your soul. And it's very, very important. If we recognize our soul is the part of us that goes on forever and ever, we do not die. There is no such thing as death. So the being goes on forever, and we call that the soul, and keeps gathering experience. And I think it's very important for it to gather love, to keep gathering more and more and more love, which is then consciousness and awareness. So lots of interdimensional experience and lots of balancing act in my own life. But back to you, Sara. Anything else that kind of do you want to talk at all about the lake on that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah. So in El Dorado, going back to this special mountain, where we actually were planning to go with Gerry, and we had everything set up. But unfortunately, we had a lightning that struck the roof of the restaurant. And actually, Monica, who is here, we were planning to have this adventure there. And it got canceled. Hopefully, we will get to travel together soon. In this lake, which is believed, like Gerry said, believed to be the earth where the water represented into the indigenous, the milk of the breast milk of the earth that will feed the soul of everyone. And when that water will dry, they believe that it will be the beginning of the death of everyone and the species and the disasters. And unfortunately, that has been happening. We see extinction, we see fires, we see climate change and all these disasters. What we want to do and what we see with the groups, even with researchers, women and men, is to see how we can start to restore and united, even with indigenous. They come and do traditional ceremonies in this place, is to see if we could, in some ways, revert the destruction. And it goes down to an individual level of what can we do. I've seen people feeling helpless or hopeless. There is not much that they can do. And I believe that is something that we can do. There is always something, even if it's you have a garden, you can put food for the birds, you can I don't know, have a lifestyle where it's no fit, like you say, influences by consume, by waste, by being more conscious. So we all have a lot of power. Absolutely. And our mind sometimes plays a lot of tricks and telling us that there is nothing to do that we can do. And when we get together as a community with friends or with people who understand our suffering, or we understand how lonely we feel, it just start to change. That's and true. If we work towards with a purpose, with an intention that we want to be surrounding ourselves with people that we might not know, but we can lend a hand, that is love.
It's love. I think it's all about love. Yeah. The bottom line is always about love. And if the earth is loving us, if we think of it as Mother Earth loving us, and that's all she doesn't even know how to do anything else. And if we give love back to Mother Earth, and if we give love back, there's nothing is too small. But that regardless of what happens, the more love you carry, the better it is for you. The more love you can show for Mother Earth and for other people, the better it is. So it's just a no-win, no-lose situation. There was something else that, I know what it was. But Sara was talking about her asking me to come to El Dorado last summer, early last fall.
October 10th, actually.
Was it October 10th? Okay, thank you. And as soon as she asked me, immediately from above, I got the words women ambassadors. And when I get information like that, I kind of salute in a way like, okay, what do I do? How do I involve the women ambassadors in this to the United States? And so we had just a couple of weeks lead time in that. And we were trying to do whatever we could. I had some background with them. And then the lightning started happening. You can think, what now?
But now we have planned for April 20th an event where all the women ambassadors from the to the United States, there are 47 of them, are being invited to an event that we're co-sponsoring. So we'll see what they can bring forward as their love for Mother Earth. I don't know what it's going to be. We don't want to tell them what they should do, but ask them, how can you bring forth from your country something that can make a difference? And if that then becomes substantive as a result of that, then you bet I will come there regardless of compromise needs or whatever. I'll be there.
And I think Mother Earth is calling us all, her children,
Yep.
To come and help.
Yep.
And it's going out different ways. And wouldn't you do that if your mom is calling you to help to do something for her? And I think we can do that.
Yeah. And the more personal you can think of it and relate to it, and understanding that nothing is too small, whatever, planting flowers, doing whatever's natural to you, whatever it is that you love. It's all about love. So what do you think it's time to?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about Emily?
Questions, right. Questions.
I think we share our part.
All right. So we have some questions in the chat. The first one is asking Sara about the programs carried out by Women for Conservation that you're most proud of.
Goodness, that's a very difficult question. I think we're proud of everything and everyone. The children, the young ladies and the mothers, grandmothers, and the men who have been supporting the women. Very important. They have shown us that doesn't matter how difficult it is, how remote the areas are, how dangerous or the challenges, the capacity to work towards a goal and this resilience is extraordinary. I wish I could share with you so many stories of these incredible women that it is incredible. It's just I admire them, I appreciate them, because they just need a little bit of encouragement and perhaps a tool, a resource, a connection, a synergy. Oh, we've been there for them, saying, yes, you can, we got you back. Go and try. And they just prove us that women have so much courage. And they don't let, we don't have, we're quite scared sometimes when we make a decision to go.
So it sounds like they understand that you understand them. You understand a need they have, and then you're providing some steps for them.
Yes.
And you're appreciating them and valuing. That's
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
Great.
I think my experience, my trauma, what I went through, see what happens with my family, it's just giving me the opportunity to relate to them in many levels.
Exactly.
Understand their language, not only in Colombia, the women, but in Africa, in Madagascar, where we're working right now, Sierra Leone, a country with a lot of challenges. And women come and show, look at what we did. And we all celebrate, and we are so proud.
And that's why you can understand them, because you've been through a lot yourself, and they can feel that. That's neat. No. Anything else, Emily? Anybody else have a question? Or?
So the next question is for Gerry. And they want to know about some of the programs that Community of Peace does.
Well, some of the things that we've done as far as projects are concerned, I was responsible for placing a peace pole in the Pentagon officially, and for teaching meditation at the Pentagon. So I had a background there. And in an official meeting there in the Secretary of the Army's conference room, we started a children's peace quilt that eventually had thousands of kids, 32 countries, 2 secretaries of state, United Nations, all of that. So we sponsor some projects and have sponsored local kids to go to embassies in DC, et cetera, and United Nations things. As far as classes are concerned, I work with people both individually. Some of the people here I worked with that I see faces that have studied with me individually, which I love. And then I work with workshops and retreats, and often, not always, but often, we'll use the nature interaction in person so that people can open their own natures, heal natures, whether it's trauma, again, we're all traumatized. It's a common, various levels. Doesn't have to be PTSD. So if you're interested in following up with me at all on that, there should be an email answer questions specifically if you have questions. But I love working with people. It's my total joy to watch what happens with them.
And you're very good at it.
I hope so. I hope that answered the question, Emily.
All right. And the next question is, I guess it's for either of you. Do you do anything to spiritually connect with nature on a daily basis?
Go first. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I think that meditation, it doesn't have to be a long meditation, but to me, meditation can be taking a walk or just spending time for yourself. Being in nature helps a lot, but I don't like the winter, so I have to convince I don't go outside in the winter a lot. But I do try to get that time for me and celebrate.
And I do, of course, too. I every time I look at nature, I connect with it and become it. In fact, I noticed today, and sometimes it kind of surprises you as to what happens. But I noticed today there was on my wall there was a little spider, and all of a sudden I became the spider, and I was kind of watching and kind of talking to the spider. And they're a little bitty little. It was much smaller than an ant, but connected. After a while, when you look at nature, you become that part of whatever it happens to be. And one of my favorite things is feeding the squirrels with peanuts. They come up now and take peanuts from my hand. So that took a while, the trust thing. But yeah, I do that pretty much every day.
All right. What is the best way for us to support both organizations other than donating?
Go ahead.
Give me a call and tell me what you'd like to do, because volunteers are always very, very helpful. And I can do some things, but I can't do other things. And so right now, for instance, I'm organizing 3 different events that are coming up shortly. And I'm also moving in the next week or 2. So there are all kinds of volunteers, and it depends on what programs we have going and what your skills are. But by all means, give me a call or send an email if you'd like to help. You bet. Sara?
I think if we are all is in a energy level where we care, and our thoughts, sending positive energy, thinking about other people like-minded, in other words, praying, you could call it, sending these good wishes and intentions, you will be surprised the impact of it.
Oh yeah.
It is incredible. And then it just things start, the universe is so wise and incredible that synergies are created. Relationships are also established. Bonds help. You can help us, but also help yourself first. And by you being happy and you being in our harmony with nature, you will just become this ripple effect that is going to affect so many people. And because we are so interconnected, whether we want it or not, we will encounter that ripple somewhere, somehow.
That's true.
And imagine if all of us are doing something every day and helping others, your neighbor, right, or whoever you encounter. It's just a matter of time when everything is start getting more and more, and we dilute the negativity and hopefully change up the consciousness.
Now, Sara mentioned something really important, and
she's talking really about a field of energy and
I
harmonics that are, there are different
I
ways
like
to-
that you put it very professional. I'm just like, oh my God.
there are different ways to say the
Thank
same
you.
thing, right? And I tend to think of things in terms of physics sometimes. And how does that work? You know? But one of the things that some of us who have been around for a while know about is that when Princess Diana died, Princeton, which is the main place for physics in the United States, main university for physics, noticed that their measuring instruments measured a huge jump on the scale, so to speak, because it was sudden and people cared. And in this case, it was compassion and caring, that kind of energy. But Sarah's pointing out that when lots of people are using a particular type of energy, the beauty, the joy, the caring, etc., it is that effective also, that it actually can be measured. And some of us way back then started doing events and things so that it would gather positive love, etc., because it makes a difference. And the more personal, the better. The more love, the better. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely right. So,
If anyone wants to raise their hand or speak to the group or put more questions in the chat.
Yeah, that would be nice. We would like to hear from you too.
I think I see Kate.
Yeah, Monica says, I'm grateful to be going back to El Dorado next month with a small group of women in a healing yoga retreat and want to offer more of these intentions to bring for Mother Earth, like we did last November.
Oh, good.
Anyone would like to write their prayer energy for Mother Earth so I can take them with me, reach out.
Good. In that case, if you'd like to do that, Monica, you'll be going at around the same time that the event will be happening in DC. So let's talk about a mutual thing again. That would be good. That was very, very, very lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And what Monica is referring to is that the last time that most of us did not go, Monica went and to do a kind of a preview of what is going to be happening and interacted with the people and some made it through when everything was in Spanish and she didn't speak Spanish, etc. You got to admire all the adventure in your spirit here. And so we gathered intentions from people in this area, and we can start doing that this Saturday, actually, with this event. And then they were read mutually. Monica read them there on the mountain in Colombia. I read them at Airlie, where Earth Day was done, and we did it simultaneously. That's a very good idea. Great idea. Let's do that. And she looks like she has another question.
Yeah, I'm off mute. Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. And yes, I will take these again. I was very powerful. Not only were they read out loud, which does take it as the power of prayer and intention, as you both have said, magnifies it. But we also had permission to give it to the earth, literally buried into the beautiful Mother Earth. And so that was another magical thing. So I welcome anyone that wants to share that before I go. We leave, Katie's here too. Katie, wave hello. Katie's coming too. She's on our trek. So I knew that I will just add before I go back off mute that I would be back to that sacred, beautiful, magical Mother Earth place of the world. And Sara led me to that. And I knew it called to me, and I will say that I want to continue the intention and share and do what I can to continue and embellish your work, ladies. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Monica. It's very important. And that was lovely to be doing that simultaneously.
Wasn't it magic? Yes. On the other side of the world. Yes. Thank you.
Anything from anyone else here? Anything more you want to say, Sara or Emily? What do you think?
No, just thank you guys so much for speaking with us, and thank you all for coming as well.
Oh,
Thank
it's been a great pleasure. Both just connecting with Sara. We always have a special time together, and to be able to see all of you there and appreciate your being with us. Thank you for checking in on us.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Emily.
the time and
Yeah.
for joining us. And
Yeah.
we appreciate these moments to remind ourselves that we are a community.
Absolutely.
We're here.
Yeah.
We would love to see you in person, maybe one day. And I'm very happy that people who are going to Colombia. I know it's an adventure. Just the name can scare a lot of people. But this is nature is full of adventures. So let's live one adventure when we can.
And I absolutely love it when people want to study with me, either individually in groups. So if that's of interest to you, or if you have any questions, just use the email that I think Emily has shared somewhere. So it's my great honor and great pleasure to work with people.
And keep following us. And
Yeah.
we're trying to share a lot of more stories from women, from men, from the
Good
field,
idea.
and successes, restoring nature.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Bye.
El agua es vida, brinda energía, nos da esperanza, es poesía, alimenta las quebradas, cristalinas nacimientos, magia de la fauna y sus conocimientos.
Rama de los robles de coral, de bromelias, se pueden contar infinitas historias, son perfectas para así soñar.
Laguna sagrada, jardín de los líquenes,